The billionaire froze when the poor boy's voice cut through the quiet garden airs like a truth no one was ready to hear that day. "Your daughter is not blind. It's your wife," the boy said, shaking badly, yet holding a courage far stronger than fear. The father's hands tightened hard on the wheelchair handles as his perfect world suddenly tilted without warning. His little girl sat silent, dark glasses hiding the eyes doctors claimed would never again see light or color. Years of hospitals, expensive specialists, and sleepless prayers echoed in his mind like cruel, unanswered cries. He slowly bent toward the boy, anger rising fast, but fear was already breaking his powerful voice apart. "How dare you say that?" he whispered, yet his tone carried doubt, pain, and confusion instead of rage. The boy did not step back. Hunger and hardship had taught him bravery long before this moment arrived. "I saw her mix something into the food," he said softly, pointing toward the mansion kitchen window. The billionaire's breath turned heavy as strange memories flashed back like warning signs he once ignored. His wife always insisted on feeding the girl herself, saying only a mother truly understands a child's needs. For the first time in years, suspicion entered a heart that had trusted love blindly more than facts. The garden suddenly felt colder as the father looked at his daughter, wondering how many signs he had failed to see before. Her small fingers moved toward his voice, a habit doctors said blind children develop, yet today it felt uncertain. The poor boy stood barefoot on the road, clothes torn by life, yet carrying truth heavier than the billionaire's wealth. "Why tell me this?" the father asked sharply, searching the child's eyes for lies, tricks, or hidden intentions. "Because I know pain," the boy replied softly, "and she looks like someone trapped in darkness, not meant for her." Those simple words struck deeper than insults rivals had thrown at him across years of ruthless business wars. Memories surfaced of nights his daughter cried, saying food made her dizzy, weak, and strangely tired. His wife always blamed medicine reactions, saying healing sometimes hurts before the body can truly recover. But now each excuse replayed differently, like puzzle pieces forming a picture he never wanted to see. Guilt began rising slowly inside him, heavy and suffocating, for trusting blindly without asking questions. Wealth had solved every crisis in his life before, but maybe not the one living quietly inside his own home. For the first time, fear was not of losing money, but of losing the truth about the people he loved. The father ordered his driver to take the boy along, ignoring the shocked looks from guards who had never seen this before. Inside the moving car, silence screamed louder than arguments, each second heavier than the last. His daughter rested quietly, unaware her life and truth were shifting in ways no one had prepared her for. The billionaire secretly called the family doctor, voice low, asking for private tests without informing his wife. "Do not tell her anything," he added, heart pounding like he was planning something illegal. Trust, built over years of marriage, was cracking now, and each crack felt like betrayal of memories. The boy explained again where he stood when he saw the woman near the kitchen window that day. "She looked afraid someone might see," he said, voice shaking as the memory returned clearly. The father's mind rushed back to the day blindness had been diagnosed so suddenly and without warning. Everything had happened fast, too fast, and doctors had relied mostly on reports already provided. His wife had cried louder than anyone, holding their daughter like the world had ended. Now he wondered if those tears had been fear of truth coming out, not pain for their child. At the private clinic, new tests began quietly, while his wife believed he was busy handling important meetings in the city. The father watched through the glass, heart pounding as doctors checked things never examined before. Each passing minute felt like punishment, guilt sitting beside him like a silent judge of his failures. He remembered choosing business deals over family dinners more times than he could now bear to count. Maybe his absence had opened a door where darkness slowly entered and made a home in silence. The poor boy waited outside, refusing money again, saying truth was never something meant to be sold. That honesty hurt more deeply than any accusation from enemies or rivals ever could. Finally, the doctor stepped out, face serious, yet eyes holding something that did not match tragedy. "Her eyes are healthy," he said carefully, each word landing like thunder inside the father's chest. "There is no medical condition here that explains permanent blindness," he added with firm certainty. The father felt the floor disappear beneath him as air refused to fill his lungs properly. "All signs suggest long-term sedatives," the doctor said softly. "Someone has been dimming her world." The father drove home with shaking hands, his heart heavier than all the fortune he had built across decades of success. His wife welcomed him with a calm smile, unaware that truth had already entered the house before him. Their daughter was rushed to emergency care as doctors began removing toxins slowly from her fragile body. Hope and fear walked together in hospital corridors where machines beeped like counting prayers. The wife's face turned pale when police officers stepped inside quietly behind the billionaire's silent figure. She denied everything at first, tears falling fast like memorized lines from a well-practiced sad story. But hidden medicine bottles were discovered inside her personal drawer, locked beneath clothes. Officers explained she feared losing his attention and control over the family's emotional center. She wanted dependence, not distance, one officer said, voice heavy with disappointment. The father felt shattered, not by anger alone, but by the weight of his own long neglect. Love had twisted into fear, and fear had grown into something cruel and deeply unforgivable. His daughter fought in a hospital bed while he faced the truth he had failed to protect her from. Days passed inside hospital walls where the father refused to leave his daughter's side even for a single hour. For the first time in years, business calls went unanswered, and losing money no longer felt frightening. He watched every breath she took, as if presence alone could repay the years he had been absent. Doctors said recovery was possible now, but patience would be the real medicine she needed. One quiet morning, she blinked slowly, staring toward the window as sunlight touched her face. "Daddy, I see light," she whispered, voice trembling like hope returning after a long storm. Tears fell from a man who had not cried even when he buried his own father years ago. He held her hand gently, apologizing again and again for not seeing the truth sooner. She did not understand his guilt, only happy that her world was slowly becoming brighter. The poor boy visited shyly, standing at the door, unsure if someone like him belonged there. The billionaire hugged him tightly, breaking a wall of pride he had built his whole life. "You saved my child," he said. knowing gratitude could never equal what the boy had given them. Months later, the mansion no longer felt heavy, as laughter slowly replaced the silence that once ruled every room. His daughter walked gently in the garden, sunlight touching eyes that had once been prisoners of darkness. Each careful step she took felt like a miracle her father refused to take for granted ever again in life. Business meetings grew shorter now, but dinner talks at home lasted longer than any deal he had signed. Guilt had reshaped him into a father who chose presence over profit and listening over pride. He spoke openly about his mistake, warning parents blinded by work and endless ambition. Children need time, not just comfort, he would say, voice carrying hard-earned truth. The poor boy now studied in a good school, visiting often, no longer a stranger, but family. Two lives had changed because one brave child chose courage over fear on an ordinary afternoon. The father often sat quietly, thinking how close he had come to losing everything that mattered most. Trust without attention can turn dangerous when silence is allowed to grow inside a home. Redemption began the day he chose to truly see his child, not just look at her. Part 8. The father created a foundation quietly, helping children whose illnesses were ignored or misunderstood at home. He said pain grows in silence, and many children suffer simply because adults are too busy to notice. Doctors joined his mission, offering free tests so no child would lose health because of blind trust. His daughter often stood beside him, holding his hand, her bright eyes reminding him why it all began. She forgave easily, like children do, never holding his past mistakes against his healing heart. The boy who once spoke truth now called the mansion his second home, laughter echoing in its halls. What started as suspicion had turned into a lesson that reshaped many lives beyond their own. The father learned that love without attention can slowly become a danger, hiding behind good intentions. He taught others that being present is the strongest protection a child can ever have. Wealth can build walls and comfort, but only care builds safety inside a family. Every night he thanked the moment a poor child dared to speak when fear could have kept him quiet. Because sometimes salvation enters not through power, but through the brave voice of someone